Alright YouTube, so Ryan Reynolds has broken the internet with a Star Wars update movie idea of an R-rated Star Wars movie, and I'll say two things. First one being this is an absolutely brilliant idea, but the second one being I honestly wouldn't want him to direct it because although I do like his Deadpool and his work in Deadpool and Wolverine as well as the very first Deadpool movie, still have yet to see the second one. I personally don't feel it would translate well to Star Wars. I don't really want a dark comedy Star Wars movie personally because I feel like The Last Jedi kind of did too much comedy and it was just like kind of, I don't know, out of place. But if he does direct it, not the end of the world. But I do want to discuss my movie pitch for a R-rated Star Wars movie, and this will not be the General Grievous or a Darth Vader movie. No, I have an entirely new character that I thought would be perfect for an R-rated Star Wars movie. His name is Dirge. He appears in Star Wars Clone Wars, not to be confused with The Clone Wars, just Clone Wars, which was sadly decanonized, which came out in 2003, which I watched as a kid and I absolutely loved every second of it. It took me many years to watch the second volume, but the first one I watched the hell out of it as a younging, and I need to rewatch it because it is so good. The action is just incredible. The story is great, but one character that stood out to me as a kid, aside from General Grievous, which I've talked about like 3 vlogs about a Star Wars horror movie, so this isn't going to be a horror movie, but rather just an action movie with Dirge, which I think kind of translates to sort of Transformers, sort of, but not really. I know in some of the images you'll find in the comics and Google images, he does look a little bit like a Transformer style character, but I wouldn't want him in like a Transformer style. I'd rather him be like practical effects, because that's what makes Star Wars so incredible, is the practical effects. Well, one of the things that makes Star Wars so incredible. Another thing is I want to see him fight Obi-Wan. I don't know if it could work with the Kenobi series, sort of tying in between season 2, because, you know, or a potential season 2 rather, but maybe a flashback. And I don't think they should use CGI in Obi-Wan's face to make him look younger. I think Ewan McGregor looks plenty good and young enough to reprise his role as Obi-Wan Kenobi fighting Dirge, similar to how he did in Star Wars The Clone Wars. But I love the idea of Obi-Wan being the only one who can take down Dirge, which I know is kind of a spoiler for this Jones Beach plotline movie, but what did you expect? If Obi-Wan's in it, he's going to kick ass and take down the big bad villain. And I feel there are many other characters in Clone Wars 2003 that would work perfect with an R-rated movie, such as Ki-Adi-Mundi, who we learn in the Star Wars The Clone Wars that he's an absolute scumbag and a horrible person, that once you see the snowtrooper shoot him down, you're like, yeah, you get what you deserve. But, you know, a lot of Star Wars theories too about how he kind of led to Anakin's turn to the dark side, but, you know, that's a whole other tangent that I'm not going to get into because I don't want to go over this vlog's runtime. And yes, I changed into my Grogu hat because I'm excited for The Mandalorian and Grogu, but I do want to say I don't think that would quite work well as an R-rated movie or R-rated Star Wars movie, but rather, you know, just keep it fun. One thing I want to see with this Dirge character is him be sort of Bane of the Batman universe, but more like comic book Bane rather than Tom Hardy's Bane, where I don't know if I'd want Dirge to speak clearly, but rather just speak in robotic language, but be just such a meathead and such like a badass, snapping clone troopers' backs, ripping their heads off, you know. And that, of course, scene when you see his muscles and he expands so big, and like, you know, then they have the zip lines through him and are shooting at him. That is a little bit of a crazy scene, but that would sure as hell work well for an R-rated Star Wars movie. And of course, Obi-Wan Kenobi reprising his role, maybe hopefully Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman as Padme and Anakin in this series, as well as, you know, any other characters that are in Star Wars The Clone Wars 2003, but I don't necessarily want this to be just a live action version of that, but rather, you know, focused on Dirge and sort of a spin-off, but with familiar characters, so sort of like a soft reboot, as they say. So what do you guys think? Is this a good vlog, or, I mean, a good movie pitch? Am I cooking, or am I just like, you know, talking crazy? I don't know. But until then, I do like the idea of an R-rated Star Wars movie, but not Ryan Reynolds directing it, because Deadpool doesn't translate well to Star Wars. Sorry, I almost said Spider-Man. That's embarrassing. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more soon. Goodbye.